If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell icon to get the latest updates.
Yeah, warm welcome to our today's CPI session. We'll start the basics of SAP CPI. CPI is basically cloud platform integration. Everything is installed and everything is maintained on the clouds. Okay, we'll go from scratch. What is clouds and what is an integration and what is an use of SAP CPI, and nowadays where we are using the SAP CPI. Okay, now first we'll
Sorry
discuss.
for the interruption here, Abhinav. So, request you to take the introduction from the participants. And before that, request you to introduce yourself so that because participants are not aware about like the trainer's background and all, apart from this
Yeah,
box. So,
yeah,
request you to introduce yourself. Post that we'll take an introduction from the participants, then we'll jump onto the slides.
yeah, okay. Yeah, hi. My name is Abhinav Tripathi. I have 8 years of experience. I'm MNC's trainer, and I worked on different kinds of projects where I worked on development, migration, support, and different areas. And when it come to my technical background, I worked on different areas in SAP CPI. I worked on cloud computing as a part of an architect, cloud architect, and I worked on the cloud connectors, open connectors, and API management. And mostly I worked on directly with the client, where I am interacting with the client. I also provided so many trainings on MNs. This is the brief introduction about me.
Yeah, Abhinav. I mean, as you know, you can see most of us are from SAP ABAP background, right? So just wanted to understand like how it's useful or how it helps as an ABAP technical consultant.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, definitely this ABAP knowledge is very benefit when it is come for the integration also, because today landscape is completely, we have S4 HANA system, which is on the landscape. It's a cloud system where you are integrate the multiple systems with the S4 HANA system through SAP CPI. Whenever you connect with any SAP system, either it's a ECC system or S4 HANA system, there will be an integration between SAP CPI to S4 HANA or ERP. Okay, there is a connectivity gap between SAP ECC to S4 HANA system as well as the SAP CPI. Okay, there is a very useful when you know about the ABAP knowledge. It will really benefit for us.
Thanks, Abhinav.
So Abhinav, one more question. Like, let me put it the other way. So, because this is on a CPI, so how much PI/PY knowledge is needed for the participants? That's one question. I mean, are we covering something from basics, or are we assuming that all the participants have some integration background?
No, for this SAP CPI, first of you know that what is an integration. If you know the definition of the integration, then you don't no need of any PI/PO background. Because I'm starting from the scratch, what exactly the CPI work and what is integration and how middleware works. Okay, but there is a difference between what is an PI/PO and what is an SAP CPI. There is a large difference between CPI and PI/PO. But it's when we come to PI/PO, it's a completely on-premise, right? You have to do your own architecture, your design, and everything. But if you come with SAP CPI, we have already pre-built architectures and we have already pre-built content, right? You can directly utilize there in your integration flow. Okay, we have so much of blocks and so much of pre-packaged content which is already available. That's why I'm starting from the scratch. If you don't know about the integration also, that's very fine.
Yeah, thanks, Abhinav. So just wanted to clarify so that participants will be aware of that. So yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, first we'll start with the introduction with SAP CPI. Okay. Before jump into SAP, what exactly SAP CPI, I'll give some background of what is on-premise system will do and what is cloud will do. Okay. First, I'll give you an example of what on-premise architecture works and what it look like. Okay, basically, whenever you work for some company, right? Now, let's assume you are in one company, let's assume we have on house. Okay, there is a lot of servers and you have to do the maintenance and you have to do the deployment and you have to manage the resource, everything within the company level that we called as on-premise. Okay, now the owner of this company has to think about what is the servers are available and all the servers are up and running or not. And you have to check for the deployment is there or not. And you have to check for we need the resource to manage all this complete thing, right? When we come with the on-premise. But when we go for the cloud, everything will be maintained in the cloud providers, which provide all the services. Now let's assume we have a small example. We have the electricity providers. Okay. Now you are the person who are utilizing the electricity. Now you never think about how the electricity is reaching to your home and how the electricity is storing at the electricity place and how they generate. You never bother about, right? Because the final agenda is you utilize the electricity and you pay for that on monthly basis, right? Now the same concept is applicable for SAP Cloud Platform. Okay, the cloud service, the providers who provide the complete services. Now you utilize those services based on the subscription and you pay for that. This is the simple concept in the clouds. Okay, now jump into what is exactly the definition of cloud computing. Okay, if I give this complete definition, you will think about what is the cloud computing and all. First of all, I will put in this way. Now you have all the systems, servers, and maintenance, deployment, everything in the same place, right? But if you go for the on-premise, they are in the same company. But if you put all the servers and everything in the same place, that we called as cloud computing. But the servers and everything is sitting on the internet. Okay, whenever you come the word cloud computing in the sense, the computing is happen on the internet. By using the internet, you do all the operations. Now, what is the main benefit of using cloud computing, right? Now let's take one small example. Now I have one software which is running on my laptop. Now what I have to do, I have to install the software, right? Let me show you that. Okay, I'll show you a simple example. Now let me create one application here. I'll create this Word document here. I'll give some name and let me open this. Now this is the software which is installed in my system. Now, if I want to use this software in my mobile, what I need to do again, I have to install this software, this application, and I have to utilize, right? This will take time because I have to store the data in this Excel. Again, I have to share the same Excel with the person whoever I want. Now I'll open the same application in the cloud. Now, if I open the same application, I'll go to my. Now I'll open this. Okay, now I'll create one template. I'll enter some data. Okay, now the power gone. Now what happened? I want to use this Excel. Okay, now if I'm not saving this data is fine because the cloud itself, it will activate and store all the data, whatever the data you enter, right? Now let's assume I went to my hometown. I don't have my laptop. I have only my mobile. Now what I can do, I can simply log into my mobile and I can open these Google Drives. And the Google Drive, I can open this Excel, I can use this, right? But if I want to, if something like, if there is one application which is running on my laptop, right? If I want to use this application, now what I have to do, again, I have to take the laptop and again, I have to install this software or this application. Then again, I have to do all the process. It takes time, everything, right? But when we come with this application, it's a very easy. Wherever you go, you can use that 24/7 usability, right? This is the main difference between what is an on-premise and what is a cloud. Okay, now let's move on to next thing. Yeah, the main benefits of using the cloud computing, as I told you, it's a fast development. Okay, you can do the development very quick way. Instead of doing all the installation and software, you can do very fast deployment. right? Now access to innovation. Now anywhere you can do any design and everything by through the internet. Then agile deployment and configuration and integration. If you want to integrate the multiple systems, right? If I have a system A and system B, want to integrate with the clouds, it's a very easy. But when you come with the on-premise application, you have a different architecture. It's a completely different in the scope when we come with the on-premise to cloud. Now, lower TCO. TCO in the sense total cost of ownership. Now, when we compare with the on-premise with the cloud application, it's a very less cost when we come with the cloud application. Whatever the application you buy, it not take much charge when compared with the on-premise application. Now, till here, this is the basics. But from here, it's a very important thing. Everyone should remember we have an services. Cloud will provide 3 different models. What are those 3 different models? Infrastructure as a service, yes, and platform as a service, then software as a service. Let's go into in-depth and know what exactly software as a service will do and platform as a service will do and infrastructure as a service will do. First, we'll look into what is software as a service. Now, again, I'll jump into one application called as SAP SuccessFactors. Okay, now if you see here, this is the application which is provided by some third-party vendors, right? Someone is created this application, they're provided this, and we are utilizing. You never bother about how the code is working and how exactly this software is designed. You never think about that, right? Now, the same definition will come into the software as a service. You never think about how the software is designed. Some third-party providers, they provide this software. You utilize those services. You are utilizing the services. Now, the same example for Ariba Concur. Whenever if you have an Ariba architecture, like if you want to buy something or if you want to sell something, in the integration point of view, we are going for Ariba. And the same for if you have any travel, and this will come under Concur. We'll see more about how this will work. But as I told you, software as a service is basically the software which is already created and which is already deployed, and you utilize those services through the clouds. Now we'll go to platform as a service. Now we know that platform as a service, which can be created and you have to develop and you have to design and you have to test and you have to deploy something which you have to do the code, right? Now let's assume we have an Wix.com. This is the template design website where you can do your own design and you can deploy your own website to the internet. Now you can do your design and development and it's working or not. You can do your testing and you can go live, right? That is the platform as a service. Now this platform as a service is come under CPI, Cloud Platform Integration. What is the main agenda for the CPI? You have to do your own integration from the scratch and you have to write your code and you have to deploy and you have to do the testing, right? That's why we call it as platform as a service. Now, what is the main difference between software as a service and platform as a service? In the software as a service, you never create anything. You utilize those services which is provided by some third-party vendors. And platform as a service, you have to create and you have to add and you have to do the test and you have to do the deployment. Then it will come under platform as a service. Now, infrastructure as a service. We all know what is the infrastructure. The same word is also applicable in the on-premise, right? Because you have to store your data. If you come with the on-premise, there is a lot of data you are storing daily, all the resource information, employees information, and everything. But if you come with the infrastructure as a service, yes, there is the storage providers, which is provided by the third-party vendors. You are utilizing those services. Let's assume we have a Google Drive. Now I want to store so much of data, 1 MB or 2 MB of data. I use the Google Drive because it's a cloud application. I can store how much amount of data I want to store. I can store it in Google Drive. Now, if it is come with the SAP terms that we called as SAP Converged Cloud, where all the application data, everything in the SAP terms, it's stored on SAP Converged Cloud. This is the main difference, or you have to remember these three: software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. And you go to any development or design, there is a no vote of software as a service where I should use software as a service. But this is the main idea, how exactly what are the backend components are there in SAP CPI, right? Before we go into the exact what is the SAP CPI work. Okay, now we'll go to who can use this software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. Now, business users, as I told you, the Ariba and SuccessFactor, who are the business users, they can use the software as a service. Now, if you come, as I told you, if you do your coding and you do your design and you do your testing, then we are called as developers, right? Now that we call as platform as a service. Now, who maintain the data, right? Admins will maintain the data in the database. That's why the system admins, they use the infrastructure as a service. Then what you get whenever you purchase any software as a service, then you will get software application which is running on the clouds, right? It will not come to your system, you will not install and you will not use that, right? Because it's already created by someone and you are utilizing the service. That's why the software application will come under software as a service. Now, development platform. The CPI we called as development platform. What does it mean? Because you do the development, right? Now you do the testing, right? Everything. That's why this development will platform come under platform as a service. Now, computing the resource, this infrastructure as a service, the system admins or the who are the authority persons, they have to computing the all the data, right? That's why we called it as computing the resource. Now, the main purpose of using software as a service and platform as a service and infrastructure as a service. The main use of using the software as a service to complete the business task. Our main agenda is, as we are a developers or you are a third-party vendor, what is your agenda? The business, right? That's why to complete the business task, you use the software as a service. Now, the platform as a service to build and deploy the application. You do your CPI integration flow and you deploy, you do the testing. That's why the main purpose of build and deploy. Then what is the purpose of infrastructure as a service? As we know, the infrastructure is basically on the storage, right? Now you can store how much amount of data you can store and you can access to the online. That is the main purpose of using the infrastructure as a service. Now we'll go in depth onto what is an SAP BTP. BTP is called as Business Technology Platform. Okay. Now you are at the main pillar now. Okay. This Business Technology Platform is the important one where you start your CPI development. Okay. Now I'll give simple example to understand what is exactly this Business Technology Platform. Okay. Now most of them we use this Make My Trip application, right? Now, if you see here, there are so many services which are provided by the Make My Trip. Okay. Do you think this Make My Trip will create this flight service or hotel service or holiday, these something services? No, because this Make My Trip is never created these all services. It will ask these flight services will contact with the Make My Trip. I want to add my services to your application. Then Make My Trip, what it will say, okay, now you can use my platform. Then the same thing, the hotels and holidays, trains and everything. These all are the independent services. It's not depends on each other because you can use the only flight services. Okay, then you can do your booking and you can do your whatever the operations you can do. The same thing is applicable in SAP BTP, Business Technology Platform. Now SAP provide, there are so many services. You can see here, web environment, alert notification, application, there are so many, right? There are hundreds, but I never bother about how these server services or work because I am an integration consultant. I will always see how this integration will work and what is this subscription will do and everything. I'll only the integration consultant. That's why I'll think about this integration suite, right? Now we'll go in depth onto the integration suite and how it will work and what is the main use of this. Okay. Now, whenever I want to use this integration suite subscription, first I have to do the subscription. Okay. Either I can take the subscription for 1 month or 6 months or 1 year, but typically it will be a 1 year. Okay. You have to take the subscription, then you can use this. Okay. Now let's jump into the inside of what are the services available in integration suite. Before, what happened is this integration suite was not there. The time all these services are individually available in the cockpit. Okay, but nowadays what happened, this integration suite will be combination of all these services. First, the service is SAP Cloud Platform Integration. Don't worry, I'll show you in the system how this we have to do the registration process and how we can utilize this cloud platform integration. Okay, first I'll give the basics, how this is look like and what we have to do and how to understand. First I'll give the glimpse of that, then we'll go into the system. Now we have the cloud platform integration where we do our integration part will come under CPI that we called as cloud integration. Now API management. Now let's assume I'll give you a simple example what exactly this API management. Okay, now you have your database which is on-premise data. Okay, now you want to expose your data to third-party vendors. Okay, let's assume we have so many third-party vendors. Now you are maintaining your data at on-premise. Now you want to expose all the data to third-party vendors. There are so many third-party vendors. Then this API management will come to the picture. What is the API management mainly do? It is mainly, it will give you the one layer of authentication, either in the format of username or password, or in the format of API keys, or in the format of OAuth credentials, anything. There are so many. We'll go in depth onto the API management, but basic idea is it gives you a layer of security. Okay, now let's assume we have one more example. Okay, now I am using one website. Okay, I'm using one calculator website. It's a open source, right? Anyone can use that and anyone can utilize that. That's fine because that is the calculator service, which is there is no credential part and nothing. But if you go to the bank application, there is so much of security data they are storing, right? The amount and credits and debits and everything. In that time, what I need to do is I can contact with the API management team where I need a security. Please, can you provide one layer of security from you? Okay, then the API management team will provide you the security by means of either API key or anything. Now, if you want to crack any CPI or any bank application, then what you have to do, first you have to go to API management, then you have to crack them, then you can enter into bank application. But it's impossible to crack API management. Okay, it's a very secure. Now we'll go to what is an open connectors. Now open connectors are basically it's a third-party applications. Now I have my Gmail account. Okay, now I have my open connectors. Okay, and I have my Facebook and Twitter. These all are come under third-party application. Now I want to connect my CPI with the Facebook or my CPI with any third-party application, either it's a Gmail or something. Then the better option is going to open connectors. Okay, you have to subscribe for this open connectors, then you can utilize the open connector services. There are so many open connectors. Next slide, I'll show how many are there. Okay, now integration advisor. Before jumping to integration advisor, I think most of them know what is an A2A and what is B2B. I think everyone know what is an A2A, right? Because it's an application to application. If you do the transactions within the company, like within the network level, then we call it as application to application. But if you do the business with one connection to another connection, means one business to another business. Suppose I have two business partners, one is Pepsi and one is Coca-Cola. Now I want to send some data from Pepsi to Coca-Cola, then that we called as business to business, right? Because I am sending some business data from my Coca-Cola company to Pepsi company, that we called as B2B. Whenever you come the word across B2B, business to business, then the preferable language is EDI. What is an EDI again? Okay, we'll go in depth onto the EDIs and what is the structures and everything. Okay, but the main integration advisor we use for EDI purpose. Whenever you have the EDI transaction, right? Orders, we called it orders or invoice and deliveries and payments. There are so many thousands or okay. Whenever you come across that, then we go for integration advisor. Okay. Now,
so Abhinav, I have one question here. Like when we do the subscription, is it at the integration suite level or individual
yes.
components of it?
No, you take the subscription for the integration suite. The same time, you can access all these services.
Okay.
Okay. Now we'll go in depth and how this SAP CPI and how it will connect with the other applications. Okay. Now this CPI is basically depends on some pillars, right? Pillars in the sense it's a completely maintains or depends on something. Now, what is the out-of-box integration? Now, we know that out-of-box integration in the sense something is which is already available and you are utilizing the services, right? Out-of-box integration. The same thing, we have 825 plus pre-packaged integrations, which is already created by SAP or some third-party vendors or someone. If you want to utilize the same package, then no need to create anything. You can directly copy the same integration to your tenant. Likewise, we have 825 plus pre-packaged contents. Okay. Now APIs. Okay, we have 725 plus APIs, which is already created by the third-party vendors or SAP. Okay. Now, if you want to utilize that, then you can utilize the same. Okay, because it is already created by the SAP or everything is available on clouds. Okay, now if you want to utilize, then you can simply copy and you can utilize. Now open connectors, as I told you, we have 150 plus connectors. Examples like Facebook, Twitter, these all come under the open connectors. If you want to utilize that, then you can use the service by clicking on the copy option. Okay, we'll go on that and you can understand how it will work. Then artificial intelligence. As I told you, the integration advisor is completely depends on artificial intelligence, right? Because this B2B is completely automation process. Now, I'll give some depth of what is an exactly. Let me go to this. Okay. Okay, I have some sender system. I want to send some data to the ECC. First, I'll request for the quotation, right? Now, once I request for the quotation, then they will send the response, right? Suppose if I want to buy 100 bicycles, first I'll send the quotation, then they will send the quotation response. Okay, this much of cost. Then if I'm satisfied that, then I will send the purchase order, right? Then the system itself will create the sales order. Then it will send the delivery. Okay, at the time of delivery, there is so much of process. Okay, but I'll not go in depth. Now, once the delivery is completed, then invoice. Okay, once the delivery is successful, then the system will send the invoice. Now, everything is completed and the user is satisfied. Then finally, it's a payment tab. Okay, then finally, user do the payment for the system. Okay, this is how the process. Now, this is the automated process when it comes to the EDI. Once you create an sales order, once you send an purchase order, the system itself will create the sales order. Then it will send the delivery and invoice, but finally you have to do the payment. Okay, this will come under automation process. Now, the same thing is applicable in the integration advisor. Now, the second one is cloud deployment and pay as you go. What does it mean? Now, I utilize only the 100 GB for this month. Then I will pay only for 100 GB. But initially I purchased for 1000 GB, but I'm using only 100 GB. Then why I need to pay extra for 900 GB? No, right? That's why it's a cloud deployment and pay as you go. How much you will use, that much you have to pay. Now multi-cloud deployment offering choice. Now we'll go in depth onto this, what is cloud providers and what exactly the cloud computing and all. Now let's jump into, I'll show something which you can. Now, whenever you open SAP CPI data centers, right? Now you can see there are so many data centers which is maintained by SAP. Now in the North America, we have 28 and South America, we have 2 and Europe, we have 14 and there are so many. Now these are the data centers which is managed by either Amazon Web Services or Azure. Okay, we have 2 cloud providers, either it's Azure or Amazon Web Services. They'll provide the same services. Now, if you go for the Europe, there are so many. Okay, now why I need to explain this is because we are utilizing any one of the data providers, either it's Amazon Web Services or Azure, and we are storing our data into their secure area. That's why we called as cloud providers. Okay. Okay, I'll take pause here. If you have anything, then.
Yeah, so hi Purva here. So I just wanted to know, just now you talked about cloud providers. So it is, I mean, just correct me if I'm wrong. It is saying that as a SAP CPI is integrated on cloud platform and it is been given to Azure and it is hosted on Azure or Amazon is what we are trying to say here.
Yes, correct. They'll maintain these servers. Okay. And you are utilizing one of the service. Okay. When I go to the cockpit, okay, when I go one step to depth, there you can see, okay, if I go here, this is the cockpit home screen. Okay, if you can see the provider name is Amazon Web Service, right? Now the same thing, if I want to utilize the Azure service, then I can subscribe for the Azure. Okay, then the complete data will be stored on Amazon Web Service now.
Okay, so I mean, in that case, there won't be any connection between AWS or Azure. It will be two separate entities.
No, yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. If you subscribe for only Amazon Web Service, then you utilize only this service on.
Okay. And at a time, you can you subscribe for both the services?
Yes. You can.
Okay, but again, I think there you need to segregate your data, like which data will be for AWS.
Yes, correct. See, once it's a kind of route. Okay, first I'll give you that. Okay, now I have this application which is called account. Okay, this is main SAP account where I have 2 sub accounts. Okay, one is completely for Azure and one is completely for Amazon Web Service, right? Now, if I go to utilize some service, like let's assume this is some CPI service, okay? Now, whenever you utilize this service, this data will be stored on this Azure only. It will not go to here, okay? Now, if you create some account here in this sub account, then this CPI data will store on Amazon Web Service. Again, it will not go here. It's isolated.
Okay. Yeah. But then there is no restriction like what data we can put here or what data we can put
No, there is no restriction.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Now, these are the cloud basics. Now we'll jump into the integration part. Okay. Now, if someone is don't know about what is SAP PIPO, for them, I'll start this slide. Okay. Now, what is an integration? Now I have multiple systems in my landscape. Okay, system A, system B, system C. Okay, now anyone can say how the system A is connected to system C or system A connect to system B connect to system C. No, right? No, it's very fishy. I'll not say because there is a lot of integration is happening. it's an old integration, how you can send some data to the system B and the system A connect with some system Z or something. Okay, this is the old architecture. Then SAP will come to the picture forward and it remove all this complexity and make it as simple. Okay, now what exactly this SAP CPI will do? Now I have my sender system. Let's assume this is the system A and system B. Now system A want to send some data to the system B. Then this CPI integration will come to the picture and it connect system A to system CPI, then system CPI to system B. Okay, this is how the integration will happen. Now I think most of them can question why we need this SAP CPI in middle. Why can't we send the data from system A to system B instead of system CPI, right? But there are so many restrictions and there are so many usages when you send the data through SAP CPI. We'll go in depth on it. Now we have so many applications. As you can see here, I have a mobile applications and business partners like Pepsi, Coca-Cola. These are called the business partners or vendors. Now the cloud applications, SuccessFactors or Ariba or Concur or something. Now these on-premise applications, ECC database, which are installed in on-premise, and public authorities like Germany or something governance that we call as public authority, and social network, Facebook, Twitter, or these are called the social network. Now to integrate system mobile application with the on-premise application, then the CPI will come to the picture and it will integrate this on-premise application with the CPI, and again the CPI will integrate with the mobile application. Now if you want to access any data which is hosted on the on-prem, then you request for the CPI, then the CPI will request for the on-premise application, then on-premise will send data to the cloud, then cloud will share with the mobile application. Why? The main reason is the credentials and the security. If you send the data in the internet, there are so many restrictions, right? But if you send some data, it's a very secure format. Then you can send the data to the SAP CPI, then CPI will share the data to the on-premise application. Now I'll give simple example why exactly reasons to go for SAP CPI. Now let's assume, okay, this is how the integration. I'll give the definition for middleware also. Okay, integration middleware, something or same. But this middleware, what it will do, if convert the data like from one format to the another format, then that we called as middleware, right? Now system A want to connect with the system B. Then if there is any middleware to connect both the systems, right? The integration, then that we called as middleware. Now let's take simple example. Now I am the person who know only English and one person who know only German. Now this person, I want to connect with this German person. Then I don't know this German language. Then what I need to do? I ask one middleware or mediator who translate this English language into German, right? Now the third party person can convert the data from German to English and English to German. Then I am happy, then German person happy, then mediator also happy. That is the main important why we go for the middlewares, right? Now let's assume, let's take one case one. Now I have, sorry, there is some content missing. I'll explain you that. Now, the system A understand only XML language. I'll show you here. Sorry about that. Now this is system A and this is system B. Okay. Now the system A understand only XML language. Okay. The system is not understanding any other language. It's a compatible with XML. It's understanding the system in the sense compatible. Now system A is compatible with only XML language, then system B compatible with only JSON, Java object notation. Now XML, this system A want to send some data to the system B, okay? But this system B don't know the XML language. Then CPI will come to the picture. Then what it do is, it takes the data from the system A and it converts the data and send to the system B, right? Now you send the data in the format of XML. Then the CPI will convert the same data into JSON format, with no data loss or nothing. Whatever the data you send to the system CPI, the CPI will convert the same data and it's sent to the target system. Okay, this is the very important thing where the integration will come to the picture. Okay, this is one example. Now let's take one more example. Yeah, let's take one more example. This language is now fine, XML. Now the sender is sending the data in the format of first name, okay, first name and last name. Okay, but the target, the business expecting the data in the format of full name, not in the first name or last name. They're expecting in the data in the format of full name. Okay, now the CPI will come to the picture. It will map these two and send in the format of full name. Okay, we have a mapping functions in SAP CPI where it concatenate both the first name and last name and it's sent to the full name. Let's assume I'm sending the first name as A and last name as B. Okay, but this system B wants the requirement in the format of AB, like first name plus last name. Then here we have to do the concatenation, first name plus last name. Then final output is AB. Okay, this is one example where we can go for the middlewares. Okay, first one is the language conversion compatible, and the any data modifications or any changes, any conversions, then we go for that. Okay, now let's take one more example. Okay, now I'm sending the data hi team, but in the output side, they're expecting the data in the format of hi team thanks. Okay, I want to add thanks extra here. Then what I have to do, I can do the mapping here again to make it as hi teams and extra thanks. Okay, lot of modifications and conversions or encryptions, decryptions, there are more. Okay, we'll go from the basics and each and every step and we'll cover on these CPI sessions. Okay. Okay, now this is the big picture of SAP CPI architecture. Okay, now if I explain something like the sender sends some data to the SAP CPI, then receiver receives the data, and you will not understand, right, from this architecture. Now for that, I'll first give you the simple example how we are sending the data from sender system and how the data is received to receiver system. Okay, now I'll give simple example. I'll explain everything, but don't worry. Okay, before explaining this architecture, I want to give you some glimpse. Okay, then it will easy for you to also understand. Now I want some data. Now sender is sending some data to the CPI. This part you can see CPI, and the receiver is mail. Now whenever I send some data, receiver is receiving the same data. Okay, now I'll use the postman to send the data. Okay, now I'll send data from sender system. Let's assume this is the sender system. Now I'll got the response 200. Okay. Now I'll check my mail. Now, if you see here, good afternoon, thanks CPI. I got the same output, right? Now, this is the receiver system. Okay. This is a simple example where this is the sender system and this is the receiver system. Now, I can simply go to the monitoring. Okay. Now I can see the status is completed. Okay. Now this is simple example where SAP CPI work. Now I'll go to the architecture and I'll explain. Now you can better get a picture. Okay. Okay. Now this is the sender system. What is our sender system now? Postman. Postman wants to send some data to the SAP CPI Cloud Platform Integration. Now, once I trigger the data, first it hits the load balancer. What is the load balancer? Load balancer is maintain the traffic of the data and it is the used for security purpose. Now I have using some certificates here and also I'm using some certificates in the sender system. Now this load balancer will manage all these certificates. Okay, now sender system certificate is compatible with the receiver, the CPI or not. Everything is maintained by the load balancer. Okay, now everything is fine. It allows you the tenant management mode. Now, what is the use of this tenant management mode? Now, if you see here, this is the developer. I am the person who is the developing CPI iFlow. Now, I am the person who is access for this tenant management node. Okay. Now, whenever I do some design, right? I created some sender system, I create some receiver system, I do the connections and I'll data change and everything. Then everything will be here in the tenant management mode. Then runtime mode. Now, if I send some data, right, then this is runtime node is act as an database, temporary database. Okay, it's a basically whenever you use any mobile application, right, we have two screens. One is front end and one is back end. The software is the back end and front end is the UI. What is the displaying screen? Now here also this tenant management node is an front end and runtime node is an back end. Okay. Now, whenever you send the data to the tenant management node, it executes all the steps. Meanwhile, whenever it executing these steps, the data will be stored on runtime node. Okay. Now, once the execution is completed, the output it sends to the receiver system. In my example, mail. Whenever I send the data to the from the postman, it reach to the SAP CPI. Okay. Then, meanwhile, whenever the operations are executing, it stores the data in runtime node and it's sent to the mail, right? Now, as I showed you, the status is completed, right? Now, this runtime node is help you to give the status to the tenant management node. Either it's a completed and or failed or something. Now, user can access only the status of the dashboard. What is the message status? And how many messages are failed, everything. The person who is the developer can see only the message status. Okay. Now, main difference in the tenant management node and runtime node is you can change or modify anything on tenant management node, right? Because you are a developer. But if you go to the runtime node, you will not do any modifications in the runtime node. Only you check the dashboard, either the message is complete status or not. Okay, then other than that, you will not do any operation. Once the execution is completed, then you can send to the receiver system. But the data will be stored on encrypted way. Okay, it's a very secure way they did this architecture. Okay, but here is the administrator will come to the picture. Who is the give all the roles and everything. Okay, now administrator can see all the information. He can see the sender information. He can see the load balancer. Also, he can see the tenant and he can see the monitoring and everything. Okay, this is the administrator part. But now let's assume I'll give simple example here. Okay, now you are a person in the company. Now you want to enter into some restricted area. okay, where servers and everything is maintained. Now, if you put your ID card, it will decline you, right? Because there is a particular axis. They're restricted the same axis. The something is same in the CPI also. Now, if you want to take any axis or with any other iFlow, then this admin will manage all the roles. Either it's he want to use your iFlow, or if you want to do the modification, and if you want to deploy or something. If admin is restricted some axis, then if you log into the CPI, then you will not do any operation. Okay, this administrator will hold everything. He can manage all the roles and everything. Okay, I'll show you how the roles are storing, how it's happening and everything. Don't worry. But this is the glimpse of how the system sends the data and how it manages. Okay, but whenever if you see any video or something, then you will get difficulty, right? Understanding. But when we go for then real time, then it's very easy to understand. Okay, this is same thing. Now, yeah. Now we'll go one more step into SAP CPI. Okay. Now, whenever I log into any application, let's assume I want to log in one food application. Now, what happened here? You can see Facebook. Either you can log in through Facebook or Microsoft or Google. Correct? Either instead of creating the new account. Then once you click on Facebook, what it will do? It will check with this identity provider who provide all the username and password. Everything is stored on Facebook database. Now, if you want to log in, it will ask your Facebook username and password. Once you click on login, it successfully you can access this application. But if you see here, this application is not related to Facebook, right? But what is the main key point here? The key point is identity provider. Now, Facebook and Microsoft and Google are the identity providers who provide the access. Okay. Now, all the Facebook and the Microsoft and Google account credentials were stored in the particular database. Facebook credentials were stored in Facebook database, and Microsoft credentials are stored in Microsoft database, and Google credentials were stored in Google database. Now, if you want to log in with any of this account, what you have to do, first you can click on this Facebook. It will redirect to identity provider. If the user is exist in his database, then it will allow you the user to access the particular application, right? Now, the same concept is in the CPI. Okay. Now, when I'm trying to log into my CPI account, right? First, it will check this user is as the proper roles or not. Okay. Now, let's assume this is an SAP CPI. Now, when I trigger some data, right, or some sender system want to trigger some data, first it will reach to the SAP CPI. Then, before reaching to SAP CPI, here only it will check the user is exist in the identity provider database or not. Okay, if the user is trust, then it will allow the access to the CPI. Now again, we have a roles. As I told you, we have in development roles and deployment roles and design roles, all the roles. Now it will check the user has the testing access or not. If yes, then it will allow the user to do the operation. If no, again, it will send you some error, right? Sorry, you are not an authorized person. Okay, let's show that on the system. Okay. Now, whenever you want to do any registration process, right? First, whenever you want to create any CPI account, first you have to do the registration for SAP. Okay. For that, you use this standard link, http www.sap.com/india/account.html. You can note this. Here you have to provide your mail ID and phone number. Okay. Now for one user, one mobile number, it will allow you to create only one account. Now, let me show you that. Now I completed my registration process. Now I'll try to log in here. Okay, once you're done with your registration process, right, then you will see the screen. Okay, this we called as BTP home screen. Now here you have to provide the same one while you are giving on the login, right? Registration process. Let me show you that I have. Yeah, this is the registration screen where you have to go here and you can select the Asia Pacific and select your country, India. Okay. Then click on this option and you have to provide your mail ID and you have to provide your first name, last name, company, and here is the mobile number. Once you provide your mobile number, then you have to give all this information. You have to create. Okay, if you already created, if you already registered, then you can simply click on login. Okay, now this is the login screen for the BTP. Now I'll give the access. Okay, now if you see here, this SAP BTP cockpit is loading. Now this is the BTP home screen where you can see all this option, right? Now here, if you want to create your sub account, then you can create the sub account, but I already created the sub account. By default, if you are using the trial account, they'll create the sub account. Okay, now if you want to create, just you can click on this create, and if you want to give any name, then you can give the name here. And if you want to select the region, as I told you, we have Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services. Now it's allowed only for the Amazon Web Services. Okay, then you can give the description something and click on create. Okay, once you create, you can see this screen. This is the trial screen. Okay, and once you see here, this is the subdomain name. Okay, this is the very, very important one, subdomain name. Suppose if you have multiple sub accounts, now this will be a different for each sub account. Okay, now once you log into this home screen, I'll explain you all these things. First of all, we have an service marketplace. Okay, as I told you from the Make My Trip application, we have so many services here, right? Now, if you want to subscribe for any services, just you simply click on that and you can access the service. Okay, now I want the integration suite. Now I just simply click on integration suite. Now, if you see here, this is the trial version. And if you want to create, then if you want to subscribe, then you can simply click on create. Now click on create. Now, if you see here, creation is in progress. It will take at least 1 or 2 minutes and it will create one instances for you. Now, okay. Now I subscribe for that. Once you create, the subscription is completed. Now, suppose if I want to subscribe any other service, then just you can simply click on any service, then you can click on create. Once you subscribe for any one of these services, right, then it will be available here, instance and subscriptions. Now click on instances and subscriptions. Now, if you see here, this integration suite is available here. It's a subscribe right now. Now, if you want to go to application, like if you want to see what are the applications here, then you can simply click on go to applications. Now, here you have to add the capabilities. What are the capabilities? We have 4, right? One is CPI and API management and open connectors and integration advice. You can add 4 services here. Okay. Now you can simply click on these options. Okay. Then click on next and you just simply click on and activate all these, whatever the services they provide. Now click on simply activate. Now if you see here, it's in progress, right? Now it's take at least 5 to 10 minutes and it will give you the one URL. Okay, now if you want to access any service, you just simply click on this and you will get the URL. You can copy paste. Okay, now that is the main thing. And one more thing also, you have to understand how this exactly this cockpit works. Okay, now as I told you here in this example, whenever this application want to access any for any application, you can log in either of these applications, right? The same concept is also you can see here. Okay, I'll show you what is that. Now if you see here, if you are activate, now API management is activate. Okay, now if you want to access this, then you can simply click on this. Okay, now let's see this cloud. This is the cloud platform integration. Okay, this open connectors is activate now, and integration advisor is taking time. Okay, now the integration advisor also activate. Now it take time. Meanwhile, I'll show you something so important one. You can see the security here, right? We have the users and role collections and roles and trust configuration. These users are very important thing. Okay, this we called as identity providers, where I discuss this topic, right? Identity providers. Whenever you trigger the data to the SAP CPI, first it will check this user exist in the identity provider or not. And if the user exists, then it will allow you to check all the roles. Okay, where you have to check the roles is you can simply go to identity provider. Here you have to provide your mail, whatever the user they're providing, user ID. Okay, now show assignments. Now this will be enabled now. If you see, it's enabled. Now click on assign roles. Now I subscribe for all these services, but when I click on this option, it will not allow me to access any of this service, right? Because I don't have all these roles, right? Because this is the first time I'm trying to log in. It will not allow you to give any roles. Okay, by default, you have to add these roles whenever you use the trial account. But if you are working for any organization, this admin team, they will provide you all these access. But there is a restrictions for that. Suppose you have a guest, API portal guest, then you can only see the applications or what is running or what is not. Then there are so many. If they give the admin access, then you can do the modifications and everything. Okay, for now, this is the trial account. You can go ahead and you can add all these. Okay, as we are in CPI consultant, we no matter of how these roles, what are these roles work, you just simply add these. Now I added. Now click on assign role collection. Now again click on this, and here you're not seeing any roles, right? What does it mean? The user has all the roles now. Now again go back, go to trial, and okay. Now one more thing I want to show you. Suppose if you want someone want to access your trial account, right? Then you have to add the user here. Okay. you can simply click on create, and you want to provided his user ID, in the sense mail ID. Okay, the username, let's assume test CPI or something, and his mail ID. Okay, then click. Then what you have to do is, again, he will get the same identity provider here. Now again, click on this, and here you have to again provided this user the particular person name, and assign, click on show assignments, and whatever the roles you want to allow to him, then the same roles you can allow him. Okay, now there are multiple users can access your sub account. Okay, now if you see here, this URL is created. Now I'll try to click here. Okay, now if you see here, this is the SAP CPI screen, okay, where we do all these operations and everything. Now our CPI is created. Likewise, now you simply copy this URL and you can paste it somewhere. Whenever if you want to log into SAP CPI, then you just simply click on this. Okay, now one more thing. Now here you can see what are the roles you see there, right? What are the roles you assigned in the identity provider? You can see the same roles. Now let's assume there are no roles. Whenever you click on the assign, let's see. You go to here, go to application. And yeah, now if you see here I am not able to add any role. Right? If you see, is there any option that I can add the role? No, right? Now let's assume there are few roles which is provided by SAP. Now if you want to add the roles, then what you have to do is you just simply go to role collection. Okay, then you just simply click on this option, and if you want to add any role, then you can just simply click on this and string and click on create. Okay, now this role is created here. Correct. Now I'll search for CPI security role. Now if you see here, there is an empty, right? Now user groups and everything is empty. Now what you have to do is you just simply click on, you just created the template. Now you have to assign the roles. Now how to assign the roles? You just click on that option and go to edit. Now here you can see the roles, users and description, right? Now you just first select which role you want to add. Okay, now I want to add some messaging.send. I want to add this role. Then you can justly search for that and click on this option and click on add. Okay, now the role is added here. Now for which user you want to add this specific role, right? Now again you search the user. Now once you click on this, you will find this, right? Now suppose if there are multiple users, then you can add, simply click on plus and you can add the same role here, and you can give whatever the description you want. Okay, then click on save. Okay, now if you go back and you can search for CPIS, and if you see here, the role is available here. Okay, likewise you can do all the edit options and everything here. Okay, now if you want to delete any role, then also you can delete. But here, these are the disabled ones, which is already provided by SAP. Okay. Now, suppose if you are working for the project, then if you want to delete, then you can delete. Now, if you want to copy the same role, then you just copy this role and you can add it to some other sub account. Okay. Now, this is how you add the roles under role collection. Okay, now this is the available roles and the available roles description. This give you the glimpse or brief about how these roles work and what is this about. Okay, but the main important thing here is users. Okay, where this identity provider. Suppose let's assume if I delete this user from here, now this user want to send some data to the CPI, then it will not allow the user to send the data to the CPI, because whenever you send the data to the CPI, first it will check the identity provider, right? This user is exist or not. And once the user is exist, then it will go to roles and it will check this user has all the roles or not. Okay. Now, if he has all the roles like edit role, everything, then it will allow the further process. Okay. This is the important one, role collections and users, because whenever you work for the CPI project, now you are in some development or something, right? Production support or something. Now, if there is any issue while you are trying to edit, now you are getting some error, then you have to know that, okay, this is the issue because of the role, okay, or this is the issue because of the connections or something. Then you can tell to your basis or admin team that this role is missing, can you please add for the role? Okay, that's why you have to know what is the functionality of a role and how it will work. Okay, I'll take pass, and if you have any question. Okay, I'm assuming no questions now. Okay, let me go for this. Now, instances, you can see the word instances here, right? The instances are basically, suppose you have so much amount of data here. Okay, now you have so much of this is the database where everyone can access. Now, suppose some person, third party person want to access some data from this complete database. And what you do is simply you create some instances for him and he can access this, right? Now you provide this data sync with this and he can access this instance and he can do the whatever the operation he can do. Likewise, we have the instances here. First of all, you have to create an instances for any other application. Now, if you want to access any application, then you have to create the instance. Okay, just you can simply click on this.
Abhinav, sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, one question. So all these configurations and everything we are doing in Cockpit and not in SAP CPI portal, right?
No. CPI will not come under this Cockpit. See, now the credentials part and everything is, suppose you are working on some project, right? Now you are working on-premise, okay, not in cloud. Okay, let's assume you are an CPI PI consultant. Now you are running, suppose you are sending some data to any third-party application. Okay, from ECC to PI and PI to any third-party application. Now the CPI credential should maintain in ECC because the data is starting from ECC to PI, then PI to third-party system. Now here also, first it reached the cockpit. Okay, then it will check the user is exist or not. Then it allows the particular user to enter into CPI. CPI will not, for the admin part, CPI will not have any issues. Okay, suppose if you are using some CPI in the CPI integration flow, if you want to access some website, okay, then that website username and password you can store in CPI itself. That's fine. But
Okay.
if you come with the global, right, the CPI will be now global. It's not with the something, a piece of code, right? Now,
Right.
if you want to access this complete CPI, there is a root. Where is the root? That is the cockpit.
Okay. So suppose if there is a project and which has implemented CPI, suppose, so that particular project credential has to be there in the cockpit so that they can access CPI. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes,
Okay.
correct. Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Now, if you see here, it's everything is activated now, as I showed here. Okay, these are the important screens where you do all the operations. Okay, discover, design, monitoring, and settings. Okay, we'll go one step forward and we'll see how exactly it will work. Okay, but you should remember this cockpit is the home thing where you do any operation, right? All these things will be synced with this cockpit, because whenever you send some data, first it will check this user is exist or not. Then it will allow you to do all the operations. Okay. Now, as I told you, SAP provided pre-packaged contents. What is the pre-packaged content? Now someone is already created and already utilized. Okay. Now you simply, if you want to utilize the same package to your project, then all the iFlows were deployed in discover phase. Okay, you can just simply click on this option and you can go here. And if you click on this option, yeah, where you can see the already developed thing, right? It's not showing the empty screen because the SAP is already created. Now you are utilizing the same. Okay. Now this is called pre-packaged content, which is available in Discover page. Now, if you want to utilize something, right, then it's a very simple. You just go to artifacts, and if you want to utilize this service, then you just simply click on download. But here is the twist. Now, if I scroll up, I can see it's a editable. What does it mean? It means I can download this package, right? Now, if I click on this option, then I can simply click on download here. Now this package is download to my local desktop. Then if I want to utilize this package, then I just simply click on this upload option. I'll show you how to upload also. Okay, for the particular one. Now I'll show you one more thing. Now remember, it's a mode is editable. Now if you see here, it's a configure only. Now I'll go to artifacts and now I click on this option. Oh, there is no download option. That's what, because it's a very secure. They are using this for the security reasons. That's why they are not, they'll make it as mode equal to configure only. Then you can just simply refer this and you can utilize that. And one more application and one more use the SAP provided for the CPI is, now if I want to copy this complete this package, then you just simply click on copy. First I'll show you this design screen where there are no contents, right? Now if you see there are no contents, now just I'll simply go to discover. Just I'll search for this package. I'll click on copy. Okay. Now the package is copied. I'll go to discover. Now see the package is copied to my tenant. Now what I can do is I can just simply go to inside and I can do whatever the operation I want to do. Okay, now if I want to do some changes, then I can do that. But as I told you, it's a configure only. Then what you just simply do is you can just click on configure, and here you can change the URLs. Nothing other than that, you will not do anything because the mode is configure only. Now I'll copy something that is editable. Okay, now I'll go here. I'll copy this. The mode is editable. Now package is copied. I'll go to subscription, billing. Now I'll go to artifact. Okay, now I'll go here. Now if you see here, I can do the edit operation, right? Because I can delete this if I don't want, or I can add something. Okay, this is the important thing where everyone should understand. Okay, what is the main difference between the editable and configure only? Whenever you mention the mode as editable, then you can copy the same content and you can do whatever the operation you want. But if it is come to the option called as configure only, then you will not do any other operation. You just change these URLs. Okay, like the sender URL, these things you can change. Other than that, you will not do any other operations. Okay, now I'll just delete these packages. Okay. Okay, now this is about the discover, where you can find all the prepackaged contents, and if you want to utilize, then you can utilize that. Now I'll go to discover. Okay, now this is the very important stage where we do all the development and creation on design or testing and everything. Now I'll show you what is exactly this architecture. Okay. Okay, first we have this is the sub account. Okay, under the sub account we have our CPI tenant. Okay, CPI tenant. Under the CPI tenant you can create package. Okay, this will be a package now. Okay. Now under that we have artifacts and iflows. Okay, where we do the design and everything will be iflows, or we call it as artifacts. Okay, now the first is sub account, then the CPI tenant, then package, then iflows or artifacts. Now if I go here, you can see this is the design page. Whenever I click on create, it will ask you to create the package, right? Now if you see here, this is the new package. Now I'll give some package here, test, and I'll give the description, example. And if I want to give the version, if I start with the 1 version, then I'll give 1. And to whom I want to create this, when like for this package. Suppose I want to create this package for Amazon. Okay, then vendor will be Amazon. Then if you want to give any description, or if you want to create any content here, then you can give the URLs or supported documents, everything you can give here. Now this is the main where you create your integration flow. Now we'll go this, but before that we'll see the document. Now if you want to add any documents, you just okay, let me check. I have the proper role. Okay, first I'll save this version 1 and mission. Save this. Okay, now this package is created here. Now I just simply create some artifacts here. I just simply go here and click on edit. Okay, now if you want to add any other documents, okay, in the format of file or URL. Now, if you want to add some document for the same interface, right, then you can just simply add it here and give the proper name and description, and you can browse this file. Okay, then you can add it here. Okay, that's a one cool part. And if you want to add the URL, then you just add the URL here. Okay, it will give you the URL. Now, if you want to delete this, you can also delete this. Now, if you have any products, suppose if you are doing any scenario which is related to development with the product of Pepsi or Coca-Cola or something, okay, then you can simply give the tags of that. Okay, it's a not very mandatory thing. Okay, if you want to give the tags, that is a key. Suppose if in future, if someone want to refer that, then they can see and they can find, okay, this is related to this project or that. Okay, now this is the stuff, and this is the artifacts are very important one where you can create your main artifact. Okay, now to create the artifact, you just simply click on add, and here you can see there are so many options, right? You can see the integration flow, SOAP API, value mapping, OData, script collection, and everything. We'll go in depth on this, but first we'll see the template of how this integration flow works. Okay, now I'll just simply click on integration flow, and I'll give the name here, text 1. And if you want to give the description, you can give that. Okay, now here you can give the sender. Okay, now suppose if you have any sender here, now suppose you want to send some data from the Google AdWords or something, then you can select that. If no, then you can select this Postman. I want to send to mail. Okay, and click on OK. Now this is the integration flow. It's created now. You just simply click on this, and this is the home screen where you can do all the design and development and everything. Okay, this is the important feature where everyone should understand. Okay, now I just simply click on edit, and I want to send some data. Now this is the sender system, and this is an SAP CPI, and this is the receiver system. Now sender want to send some data to the SAP CPI, and the same data will transfer to the receiver system. Then what you have to do is you have to give the link between SAP CPI to the sender system. Okay, for that you just simply click on this option and map this arrow. Okay, now if you see here, there are so many adapters. Now what is the use of this adapter, right? Now let's assume I want to send some mail. Okay, let's assume here. Okay, now I want to send some mail. Okay, some mail to the target system. This is the some target system. Now what this the sender system is only capable of file. Okay, now this target system is the database. Okay, now whenever you send the XML file, it will not allow you whatever the data you send to the system, right? For that reason, you have to use the adapter, which is capability to send the sender data and send to the receiver data. Between we have the SAP CPI. Whenever you send some data, right, then it will reach to the CPI. But how to connect the sender system to the SAP CPI depends on the system configuration and depends on the adapter type. Now the sender system is the file system, then you use the adapter as file. If the sender system is JD or database, then you have to use the JDBC. If the sender system is mail system, then you have to use the mail adapter. Okay, let me give you that some examples. Now let's assume we have the file system. Then you want to connect, then you have to use the file SFTP or FTP adapter. Okay, FTP or SFTP adapters. Okay, these adapters can understand this system language and it's sent to the CPI system. Okay, now suppose we have an mail system. Now again you have to use the mail adapter to get the mails from the mail system. Okay, suppose you have mail system. Now you want to try to use the FTP or SFTP adapter. It will not allow you, right? Because these mail system configurations are completely different and this FTP system adapter configurations are different. Now, whenever this particular system, then only you have to go for the mail adapter. Okay. Now you have, likewise, we have so many. Now we have the web services. Then you can go for SOAP adapter. Okay. Now we have an web application. Then you go for REST. Likewise, we have so many. But whenever if the system is same, then you can use the same one. Okay. There is a, suppose if there is a file system now, if you want to use the SOAP, it will not allow you. Okay. The configurations are like that in the CPI. Now let's assume I want to send some data from SAP CPI. Okay. Sorry, from the Postman to SAP CPI. Then the Postman will be an web application. Now, whenever you connect with the web application, it's a HTTP. Now, you have to create the address here. This is the user-defined URL. You can give the any URL name here. Now, I'll give the test1. Okay. Now, this is the user role where we need to create the user role. It's an important one. Okay. Now, first I'll show you how it will. Whenever I send the data, I'll face the issue, right? Now we'll show you how to use that. Now I'll send data to my mail. Okay. Now, whenever you see here, there are so many mail configurations here, right? We have the connections and we have the processing and we have the security and everything. Now, whenever you connect with the mail system, first you need to do few configurations. Okay. What are those configurations? We'll discuss later. But whenever if you see here, credentials name, right? Here we have an end user authentication OAuth 2 authentication code and none, right? Now let's assume we have the mail with the plain username and password. Now the credentials I have on my username and password. Okay. Now where should I give? Should I give the username? No. Should I give my password? No, right? Because if it is the both username and password, then only it will allow you to access my mail. Right? Now, where should I store these credentials? That is the secure area that we called as manage security. Now go to monitoring. We have an option called as monitoring, right? You can just simply click on monitoring. Okay, now you can scroll down. You can see the manage stores, right? You can just simply click on data stores. And there are nothing right now. And we have security materials and you can add it here. And we have what keys and everything. Now the important will be a security material where you have to store your username and password. Now go to manage security material and click on use user credentials. Now I'll give this as Gmail. Now I need my username and password, right? Now when I give my username and password, it will not allow you, okay? Because the front end is different and the back end APIs are different. Okay, now you have to get the username and password for this. Username is same. So whatever the mail you have. but the password is not the same one. Okay, there you have to generate your own password. For that, there is a process. Let me show you that. You just simply click on your mail. Okay, now this is my mail. I'll just simply go to manage your Google account, and you just go to security where it store all the credentials. Now, if you scroll down, you can see two-step verification here, right? First, you have to switch on this two-step verification. Okay, before it default, it should be off. Now you have to on this one. Okay, now I already done this. That's why it's showing on. Okay, now once you click on this, it will ask you the password. Okay, now you have to switch on that. Now I already switch on. I'm not doing now. Now to create the password, whatever the password you want to provide it in CPI, right? Here you have to provide the password. Now I want this password. For that, you just simply click on app password. Okay. Now I'll give you a password here. Now, and it will show you the select apps. Now, if you want to create your password for mails, calendars, contact, YouTube, or something, now you just simply click on other, and you can mention CPI. Okay. Now I'll mention the CPI, and simply just click on generate. Okay. Now it will give you the password. Okay. Now copy the same here. I'll put on this on notepad. Okay. Okay, for everyone it will be not. Okay, suppose if you are doing this, this will be different. Okay, make sure that. Now I'll just paste the password here, and I'll just simply click on deploy. Whenever you deploy, then only you can use this Gmail credential name in your account. Okay, otherwise it will not allow you to access this. Now you can, this is the standard address mail, smtp.gmail.com. Remember, it's the standard one, smtp.gmail.com. Now, whenever if there is a certificate authentication, then you have to make it as SMTP or TLS. You can see here, right? Whenever if it is the TLS certification is mandatory, then you can make this mandatory. If you want make it as optional, you can make it as optional. If you don't want production, you can make it as off. And here you make it as plain user and password. Now here you have to give the password here. Done. Credential name. Now the credential name is Gmail, right? Now you have to provide the same here. Now go to processing. Now here, from which mail you want to send? Always this will be a from mail. Okay, whatever the mail you mention in the user, that will be a from mail. Okay, now I want to whom I want to send the mail. Now I want to send the mail to the same. I'll mention the same here. Now, if you want to add multiple, then you can add multiple. Okay, now I'll just mention subject test mail. Okay, this BCC, you can use that, the subject. Okay, now whatever the data coming from the CPI, okay, then I want to capture complete data, then you can just simply mention $in.body. Okay, we go depth on this. Okay, don't worry, but whenever if you want to send the complete data, then you have to mention $in.body. Okay. Now I'll click on save. I'll go to monitoring. One beautiful concept and the thing which is provided by the SAP is connectivity test. Okay, you can do your connection test here. With your Gmail is working or not. Now I'll go to SMTP. Here I'll mention smtp.gmail.com. And I'll mention it as optional first. Okay, let me change to mandatory. Now here you have to mention your password. Once you click on this, it will automatically ask you. First time you have to uncheck this and valid or check the mail address. Now you just paste the mail ID and click on send. Okay, once you click on send, you see the successfully reached host SMTP, this one, right? Now, when I try to test this, it will not work because the certificates are not deployed, right? That's why I have to first deploy the certificate to my CPI tenant. What are the certificates? These are the certificates. You can see this certificate, right? Now you just simply click on download. Now the certificate is downloaded. Now you go to downloads. I'll just extract this. Now we have 3 certificates. One is root and SMTP1 and CA1. Okay, these are important 3 certificates. Now you just simply go to your tenant and go to key stores. Okay, where you upload all the certificates, then click on add and click on certificate. Now you have to add all the 3 certificates. Okay, now I'll mention Gmail_1 for the first one. Okay, the name is not a matter. First one I'll click on add. Okay, now it will ask you to confirm this. Okay, this is the mine. Now click on the second certificate and I'll make it as Gmail_2. Now click on browse and give the root one and click on add. Give the confirmation and again click on certificate and give the third one. Okay, if you are not giving this, it will not allow you to send the data to the mail. Okay, that is an issue. Now I added 3. Now go to overview. Now if you see here, the key stories now becoming 10 and the security materials are 1. Okay, the username and password. Now I'll just save this, right? This I already saved. Now I'll just save as version. Now what is the difference when you do the save as version and save, right? Now if I go to my screen and when I click on this version, right, it will give you all the versions. Okay, now suppose if I next time I'll make it as version 1.0.2, then it will give 1.0.2. Now again I did some changes and I changed that, then it will make it as 1.0.3 by default. Now if you want to change this version also, you can change that. Now suppose in future I did some changes and I deployed. Now the old version is working fine, but the new implementation which is not working. Now client told me that can you please revert back? Then what you can do is simply you can click on this revert option. Okay, then the complete integration will flow will go back the old configuration. Go to old configurations. Okay, this is the very important version history. You have to know about this also. Like we have in PI, PO and ABAP and we have so many, right? Version changes and everything. Okay, now this is the one. Now to test this, first you have to do the deployment. Then only you can do the testing. Now I'll just click on deploy and click on S. Okay. Then I'll just go to monitoring. Now if you see here, this is the all main integration content flow where you can see all the integration flow, deployed integration flows. Either the status is started or not. Now I just click on deploy. Now you can see here. Now whenever you do this the first time, it will take 30 minutes. Okay. Whenever you do this for the first time, it will take 30 minutes time and it will generate one URL. Okay. If you see here, it will take 30 minutes because this is the first time. When I do for the other, it will not take this much time. Now here, you will get one URL. Okay. This is the HTTP. Whenever you provide this, right, you will get like this URL. Okay. This first part till here will be your tenant URL. This is the URL, but in my case, what happened? It will becoming this one. Okay. Okay, this is the tenant URL. We called as this tenant URL. This is the tenant ID, 10684 something till trial, right? This is the tenant ID. Now, if you want to know which region this tenant is created, then if you see here EU, right, it means it is for the Europe. Okay. Now you just, once you deploy, you will get this URL here. Okay, it's taking time. And let me share the other one, show you the other one. Okay, it will generate like this. Okay, now I'll just simply click on this option. And if I want to send some data here, like there are so many formats, right? If you want to send text, JavaScript, JSON, HTML, XML, then you can do that. Let's assume I'll send test example / test. Click on send. Now, whenever you see the status is 200, it means it's okay. I'll go to my mail. Now I got the output. Okay. Now, if you do it for the, because these credentials were deployed in some other tenant. Okay. Now that's why I got this error. Sorry, this successful message. But whenever if you do it for the first time, it will take 30 minutes of time. Okay. You have to wait. Then you start your development. Now, whenever you try to trigger this data, right, this first time you will face the issue showing that the CPI cockpit will not allow you to send the data to the target CPI because you don't have a specific roles. Whenever you send the data from the postman to CPI, there will be a specific role that you have to use. The role will be, already I added that CPIS. Okay. Let me refresh this. Now you just go to role collection. Okay, then you have to add CPIS. Okay, now whenever you add this role, right, then this postman will allow you to send the data to the CPI. If you are not using this, it will not allow you to send the data from the postman. Remember that, because whenever you start your development, okay, basically this basis team or the CPI admin team, they will add you. But suppose you are working for the project alone, then you have to do your own configurations. Then we have to add this role, CPIS. Now, one more thing also, you have to generate the key. Now, where should you generate the key? Now I'll go to services marketplace. Now you can see here integration runtime. There is a one service integration runtime. Search. It's not there. Okay. If the service is not available, then you can go for entitlement. Then if you see here, process integration runtime is here. Now you can just click on add service and process integration runtime. Click on this. They will not. Let me check the role. Okay, other roles are assigned. Integration runtime. 2 minutes. Let me show you from other tenant. Give me a second. I don't have access for this. Yeah, now if you see here, this is deployed. I'll simply copy this URL. Okay, and I'll give this URL here. Click on post, and here you have to give your username and password. Okay, go to basic authentication and give the user of CPI. Okay, and click on send. Now once you go here, go to instance and subscriptions, and you can see this instance, right? This one, it should be, at least it will take 1 day. Okay, first you have to subscribe for integration runtime. Okay, you can just simply search for runtime, this integration runtime. Then you can just simply click on create. Okay, now it will create an instance key. Now where you can see the instance key, if you go to instance and subscriptions, okay, then go to here, then you just simply click on this create service key, right? If you want to create, then you can create this. Okay, then if you want to update, you can update. Now if you want to see the user ID and password, then you just simply click on ESB messaging send. Now why we need to do only for this ESB message send? Because if you go to integration flow, if I go to integration flow here, yeah, you can see here ESB messaging.send. This is the standard role which is provided by SAP. Okay, by default, it is not there in this tenant. Okay, you should use this same ESB messaging.send. You have to first go to the service marketplace, then subscribe for integration runtime. Once you create that, you should provide this name ESB message.send. Then it will create you an instance key. Where you can get the instance key, you can just simply click on this ESB messaging send. Then you can click on view or download. Now I'll click on view. If you see here, I'll enlarge this client ID and client secret, right? If you see here, client ID and client secret. Now I am using the username and password to send some data, right? Now instead of that, I'll remove this username and password, and I also can use this client ID, okay, and client secret. Okay, then you just simply click on send. Okay, now you can see 200. Okay. Now suppose if there is any wrong in the key, okay, it's something like this, then I'll try to send this. Now if you see here 401 unauthorized, okay, there are two ways to log into your CPI account. One is either you can create an instance, okay, from here you can find it that client ID and client secret, that is the one. The second one is you have to give the proper credentials, roles and everything. Then only the user can allow you to send the data to the SAP CPI. Okay, there are two ways. Okay, everyone, I think everyone can understand this. Okay, first you have to maintain the same role. This is the user role which is provided by SAP. Then you have to use the same user ESB messaging.send user role in cockpit. Then you can send the data, it will get the success. Okay, now you can see the same message over here in the monitoring. Yeah, this completed one. Now you have to make sure that, and suppose you are working on any support project, okay, or any monitoring task, then you have to know about these monitoring techniques. Okay, what are the monitoring techniques we have, and what are the flexibility to use that, and everything you have to know that. Now when I click on this option, this is my iFlow, right, test. Now I will go here. This is, let me open duplicate files. And this is my integration flow name, test. Okay, I can see the same test here. Now if you scroll down, you can see the log configuration. Okay, this is the important one. If you mention none, then you cannot see any information, okay, related to the message, either the what is the data is sending from one step to next step, or nothing you can see. But whenever if you manage the log level to info, then you can see the message, either it's a success or failed or whatever the status you can see. I'll show you every one by one by deploying. Now whenever you change the status to debug, then you can see the technical information. Okay, what is the exact technical information? Like suppose if I'm using some content modifier in that, okay, there are so many functions. Now if I want to see the exact technical information, what is the content modifier data is storing and everything, that I can see in the debug. Okay, then trace. If you want to store the payload, right, it will allow you to only 10 minutes. Now if you see here, it's a 1627 only, 427. Now till 16, now the time is 1617, till 27 only it will allow you to check the trace. Otherwise, after 10 minutes, it will be automatically expired, right? Now, let me change this to trace, okay? And I'll use just simply content modifier here because I want to show you the trace, how it's working. Content modifier here, okay? Now in the content modifier, I'll explain you everything, this content modifier, how it works, but just for the one step, I'll just add it here. I want to send the same data to the target, whatever the data sending from the sender, $in dot body. Okay. Now I'll just click on save as version. Now the log level is for trace, right? Till 427, I can able to deploy this with the trace. Now I'll deploy this. Now the test flow will be starting position. Okay. Now I'll go to Postman. Now I'll use my username and password. Okay. Now I'll send some data from here and click on send. Now it's giving 200. Okay. I'll go to monitoring. Now the iFlow is started. Now you want to see the monitoring messages, either this particular iFlow messages or success or fail, then you just simply click on monitoring message processing. Okay. Now if you see here, this is status is completed. This before I triggered before trace. Now if you see here, the log level is info. Now this is the recent one which I triggered now. If you see the log level is trace, just simply click on this trace to view the log steps. Yeah. Now if you see from this step, you can see how the data is flowing from one step to another step. This is the cool feature, right? Now let's assume you are sending some data. If there is fail in this step, then it will be in the red color. Okay. Now let me make some error here. Okay. Meanwhile, I'll first explain this completely. Now, whenever you see the content modifier, once you click on this content modifier and go to message content, go to payload, then here you can see the payload, whatever the data I'm sending from this step, right? The same data you can see here. Okay. Now, if there is any modifications, like suppose if I did some modifications, then suppose if you click on this, then the modified data you can see here. Okay. Each and every step, how the data is converting and everything you can see here. Okay. Now, suppose if I store some data here in the headers or exchange property, everything I can see here, but later I explain what is the headers and properties. Okay, but the payload is where you can see whatever the data you are sending, right? The same payload, you can see it here. Okay, now I'll make it some error here. Syntactic error. Save, deploy. Now, if you see here, 500 internal error, what does it mean? There is an error in the CPI. Now, if you want to debug that, you just go there. I'll go to overview section. And what is the option to go to the monitoring, check the monitoring? You just go to simply monitoring message processing. Now, if you see the status is failed, now the log is still in trace because still 427. Now, if you see here, it's in red color. Now, if you want to see the error, you can go to message content, sorry, log content, and you can see the error. What is the error? Something is internal server error, expected symbol was this one. Okay. Now they are mentioned the error
$in.bo. There is an error. Now you have to go there and you have to change that, and again you can send the data. But whenever you do something, then you have to save and deploy. Then only the changes will be applied. Now the 200 error. Okay, 200 in the sense successful. Okay, now this is the one. Now let's assume you complete all the integration flow and you are in the night shift. Okay, now there are so many errors. Now how to track that errors? Okay, for each and every integration flow. Now suppose if I am in consultant, okay, I am lazy to do the monitoring or something like that, let's assume. And if you want to track this, whatever the error is there, and if you want to send the same error to your mail, then you can do that here in the integration process. For that, just you simply take the exception subprocess here. Okay, now the exception subprocess, whenever the error will come here, this exception subprocess will capture the error. Okay, now here we have an error start and end messages. I'll explain you this, but this is I'm giving you the glimpse of how exactly the CPI will handle and do the all works. Okay, now suppose if you are sending some data here, now whenever there is an error in the content modifier, right, now you want to send some data to your mail, then what you have to do, you have to use the exception subprocess. Now I want to send the error to my mail. Okay, then I can justly use the send option. Here I just simply keep the send option and I'll take one receiver here. Okay, so, yeah, and I'll mention the same mail here. And you can suppose, is there a simple feature that SAP provide? If you want to copy the complete channel configuration, then you just simply click on this copy configure and you can click on this option, then you can paste the configuration and click on S. Now whatever the configurations you see here, right, the same configurations now it's applicable here. Now here we have a standard template that we are using. I'll show you the template here. Okay. Now this is the standard template we are using for the errors. You just simply copy and we have the interface name file. For now, I'm just simply using this, and here I'll mention the mail body as this one. Okay. Now I'll make some error here. I told you I'll mention this one and click on save and I'll deploy this. Okay, click on OK. Now, if you see here, there is no messages now. Now I'll send one data from here. Now I can see the message 200. Okay, what does it mean? It successfully sent the error notification to the mail. That's why you are seeing the 200. Okay. Now I'll open my mail. If you see here, interface failure notification for test 123 iFlow on 9. And if you want to mention the time, you can mention here. You can see the interface name test 123. You can see the same interface name here. Okay, let me save this version. Okay, the technical name Okay, this technical name is the test 123. Okay, now the same technical name will be here and the message ID. Now, if you want to search the same message ID, just copy this message ID from here and you can go to your monitoring, message monitoring. Now, I have so many, right? You can just search for this, click enter. Now I got this. Now you just change to trace. Now you can see this error here, right? Now suppose what is happening here, to send some data here, there is an error, then this error start will capture the error and the send process will send the data, whatever the error, or suppose if you want to send some data, then this send step will send the data to the receiver, okay, by using this mail. Now the same process, it's reaching to the end. Now it's successfully sent that output to the mail. Then that's why the output, you can see the status is 200 okay. Okay, this is the important one, and here you can see the message ID and timestamp here. Now on what time I got the error. Okay, it's next you can see the error reason, what is the error reason and everything. Okay, if you go on, then you can easily understand what exactly how it's working. Okay, but this is the basic how you can use this exception sub process. Whenever if there is an error, then you can capture the error and you can send to the target system, like for which system you want to send. Okay, now let's assume there is a no error, right? Now I'll click on edit. Now again, if you want to, suppose if I click on message log, let me trigger this again. Now if you see here, it's at 4:30, right? Now the log is for till 4:27. Now again, I'll send the data. Now it's at 200, okay. Now if you see here, it's automatically go for debug. Okay, it's not for the trace because it's only for 10 minutes. Now if you want to again change, then you can go here and just change the log level to trace. Okay, then you can do the now again, but whenever you change this to trace, right, then mandatory you should deploy this cipher. Okay, now I'll change this body and I'll save this and I'll deploy. Now I got the 200 okay. I'll open my mail. Now I'll not get this. This is the previous one. Just now I got this. This is not an error because it's a structure is proper. Now if I go to trace, okay, then just simply click on trace. Then you can see this step will not execute because here you can see the option of error start. Whenever if there is an error, then this will be active. Otherwise, this will be in a sleeping cell where it's not do anything. Just you do the configuration, and whenever if there is any error, then this will be active. Okay, this is the important thing when we come for error handling. Okay.
Tabin, I have a question here. Like this status 200, is it not misleading because in the exception case, like the exceptions of process is sending a mail, then also it's showing a status 200, and then the success case also it's showing 200. So will that be misleading somehow?
No,
like,
Yeah. See, suppose if you are sending some data, if there is any error, right? Then suppose if you want to change message content here, if I go here, and if I mention if there is any error, then I'll change the content here. There is an error. Okay. Let's assume we have one scenario. Now I'll make this as and take okay. Then yeah. Now if you see here, now if there is any error, okay. Now I'll mention some conditions here. Okay, if there is something logic is failed, then I'll capture the error in the content modifier. Okay, in the later sessions you will get to know. But the status is basically either the message is successful or not from the CPI. Okay, it reached to the CPI or not. That is the important agenda of this status, right? Suppose if you are sending some data and if there is any data fail, now if you get the error as 500, then you got to know if there is some error in the CPI. But whenever you send the data, if there is any error, when you got the status as 200, okay, what does it mean? The data is successfully sent to the receiver system. Either it's sent to the error system or whatever it may be, but it's successfully sent to the receiver system. But here we have so many message error handlings we can manage in SAP CPI. In later sessions, we can see how to handle that. Yeah, but the main concept of this error status is the message is either it's to the receiver system or either it is to the target system, reach to the successful or not.
Okay.
Abhinav, one question here. Sorry, maybe I have missed, I'm not sure, but did not understand this Postman tool.
Okay.
What is this Postman and how we go about it? I mean, I'm not able to relate a Postman, SAP CPI, and what we are trying to do there.
Okay. See, this is basically this Postman is a third-party tool. Okay, where you can use this Postman for the testing purpose. Okay, there is no sender systems I have for the testing purpose. I am testing by sending the data from here, right? Because suppose if there is something you are sending the data from the file system, SFTP, then why you need to go for the Postman, right? Just the purpose I am using this Postman for the testing of CPI. The CPI is giving the proper output or not. This is just an testing tool where you can do the testing of your interface by using the Postman. Now this Postman is, and also the Postman is very flexible when suppose you are using any web services. Okay, now you are using any web service applications. Okay, now you want to do the testing for this web applications. Okay, then everything you can do from the Postman. Okay, I am not going for the CPI part now. I am first explaining what is the most examples and what is the use of this Postman. Now let me show you a simple example for your understanding.
Yeah, because in web services, normally from SAP system, we do it directly in SAP only. Web services testing. So never use this Postman tool. So.
Okay.
Yeah, SOAP UI is one thing.
Yeah, so you know about SOAP UI.
Yeah. I mean, ESB people uses them. We do not use them, SOAP UI. But for SAP, we normally do testing of web services in SAP only. I mean, in SAT or SAT transaction. Yeah, but SOAP UI is mainly used by middleware people.
Yeah. See, but the main difference here between the SOAP UI and Postman, SOAP UI, suppose you have your WSDL, right? Web Service Descriptive Language. Then you just simply upload the same WSDL. Whenever you have the WSDL, in the sense you have all the structure you have, you just assign the data and you send the data. But if you come with the Postman, you will not find any pre-built structure. Okay, you have to create your own data and you have to do your testing. And one more thing here is, in Postman you can see there are a lot of operations, right? You can see the post and patch, delete, copy, and all these. But if you open the SOAP UI, you will not see all these operations. What you see is just you can just simply send the data and you will see the response, either the data is successful or not. You will not do any these operations, right? If you familiar. That is the main thing.
And is this a licensed tool or a freeware?
No, it's a open source tool. You just simply click on the Postman. Here we have two versions. One is web version, tool download. If you click on this, you will get the Postman. This is the free one. Just you can click for, if you are using the Windows, you can do that, and Apple, then based on your requirement. And if you can also add this in the Chrome. Okay, if I click on Postman Chrome extension. Okay. Okay, if you see here, just click add to Chrome. Okay. Now it's adding. Now you just simply click on this. Okay, now you can do the registration and you can do that. It's not downloaded now. You just, you can, without any download, you can directly use this by adding this extension. Okay, this is also the cool feature. Okay, but if you want to download and if you want the more protection, then you can install this software. And for basically, if you want to upgrade on timely, then they will send you the notifications. You can do that. And if you want to create the group, right? Suppose if you are working for the project and if you want to add multiple persons to test this interface, then in the workplace, you can create the teamwork. Okay, here you can create the teamwork. And here you can assign the multiple users. Suppose I am the user, I can add you, and you can add multiple persons, and everyone can access my this Postman tool, and they can also do the testing. Okay.
So it is similar to SOAP UI, but it has more added features. Is what?
Yes, correct. Yes, correct.
And how it gets connected to SAP CPI via this URL?
Yeah, via this URL. This is the CPI tenant. If you see here till, it's a tenant URL. Then this is the extension. I'm using the HTTP adapter, and this is the extension of my channel. If you see the sender channel. Yeah, you can see this /data1, and this is the starting.
And this is the HTTP URL of the tenant.
Yeah, and you can directly get this URL if you go to monitoring.
Okay, so based on which system I need to put it as a target, I need to put that URL in the Postman.
Yes, correct. To which interface you want to test. Now you mentioned, now you are assigning this data one to one interface. Now you try to give the same data one to some other interface. Now it will not allow you.
It will not allow, right?
Yeah, because the
recognition authentication and a single usage.
Yes, correct. It's not recognizing which interface. Okay, likewise, we have it generated this URL. You just simply copy this and you can use that. But if you are using this SOAP adapter, let me show you that. It will generate the WSDL. I'll show you.
Yeah, it will generate WSDL with HTML, XML format, right?
Yes. I'll give this also testing, and I'll just mention the manual. Okay, I'll save as version and deploy. So if you see here, I can see the WSDL without policies and WSDL. Now, if you want to use this by using the Postman, then you can do that. Simply, you can click on this and you can download this. You can upload that WSDL.
Yeah, so this definition will be downloaded and we have to upload the same definition in Postman and try to execute from there.
Yeah, if you want to, without using SOAP UI, if you want to use that, then you can copy this first URL. Then you can give it here.
Okay.
And you can send this.
Yeah, understood. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not mentioning any data there. Okay, now suppose if you want to use the Postman, then you can just download this and you can do the testing.
Okay.
Okay. Now
okay.
Here in the monitoring, yeah, we'll go to in depth on what is an API concept. See, basically to test the API, this Postman is very helpful. Okay, we'll go in depth on the API concept, and the Postman tool will be helpful. But this is a basic understanding you can do for the testing purpose. You can also send the files from here. You just go to the form data, and here you can see key and file, right? Now you just simply click on file and mention the file name. And if you want to select any file from the desktop, then you can select and you can send this. Okay, this is the one more feature in Postman.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Now also one more thing you have to understand. Now we are discussing about the monitoring stages, right? Now we have this log level. The important one is trace. Now whenever you are in the production, right? Now you are doing the production support. In the production, you never go for the trace because it stores all the data. In the production, we are sending bulk amount of data. If you store the same data in the trace, now what happens? The data will be heavy and it will cause you the slow of the process, right? Because it's a trace is usually store the data, complete payload, right? Suppose if it is the 1 KB, then fine. But if you have the much amount of data, 250 MB, that there is a big data, then it will be a difficult. Then you not go for the trace. Now the one more feature also here. Now I am now in monitoring stage, right? Monitoring phase. Now if I want to go to this page, okay. Now you can just simply click on view deployed artifact. Okay, now you can see this. But if you see here, there is a no edit option because I am going from the monitoring stage where I just simply click on this view option. That's why. Now, if you want to edit, go for the edit integration flow, then you can click on navigate to artifact editor. Okay, now you can see you can do the edit and you can do the whatever the operation. From here, what you know from monitoring also you can go to your iFlow and you can do the operations and modifications and everything. Okay, this is one of the important feature. I'll show you one more. Now this version is 1.0.3. I want to change the version to 1.0.2. Then what I have to do, I just click on this and click on OK. Okay, then click on test. Now you can see this is the old configurations which was done before. Now you can just simply click on deploy. It will deploy the old version. Okay, now what I do is I'll just delete this exception subprocess from here. I don't want now. And in the part of monitoring techniques, suppose you want to download the payload. Okay, now you want to download the payload in the monitoring. Then we have the standard Groovy script here. Okay, we go for the standard Groovy script basics later sessions, but we have the standard structure Groovy log message. You can just use the same in your projects. You can click on this plus option and you remove the existing one. Click on OK. Now I'll check this, everything is fine or not. Now I'll click on save. I'll click on deploy. I'll go to monitoring. Okay, whenever you use the test tenant, there will be a lot of bugs. Okay. Now if you see here, this I got this URL. I'll copy this URL from here. I'll paste this. Now I'll go to message monitoring processing. Now, if you see here, I am not able to see my payload, right? If you see any other step also, I'm not able to see the payload here. Now I'll just simply click on send. I'll send some data. Okay, sorry, I don't want this. For now, I'll make it as XML and click on send. Okay, now it's a 200. Okay, I'll go to my monitoring page. Now the status is complete. Now if you see here, I got the payload. Good. The response payload. Now just simply click on this download option. And if you open this, you will get the same payload here. Okay, whenever you're working for the test environment, then if you want to do the testing, then you can use this. Now, suppose if you want to change the payload name, I'll just mention output. What is the, see, basically here what happens is whatever the data you are sending, it create in the format of attachment, all the content, the storing in the name of attachment in the format of text/plain format. Okay. Now I'll save this. I'll deploy this. Now, if you see here, it's a response payload. I'll trigger the data. 200. Okay. Now, if you see here, it's the output. Okay. Based on your, suppose there is a requirement that you want to change all the outputs are in the format of same name. Now you want to change this attachment name, then you can do that. Now, if you want to see the, instead of downloading this, if you want to check the payload, then you can just simply click on output. Okay, here you can see the payload. Okay, now this is the simple payload, but that is fine. But there is a huge payload. Then it will be a lot. Then if you want to download, then from here also you can do the download. Okay, that is the one important thing in monitoring. Yeah. Now if you see here, these are the all the deployed integration flows, right? Suppose when I click on this option, manage integration content, I can see all the deployed ones, either it is in the start or started or error. But if you want to filter, right? Suppose I have 12 total. Now out of 21, I have 9 are started stage and 2 are error. Okay. Now if you want to see the error, then you can go here. And these complete, the first line is completely about the messages, the successful messages, and this is completely about the iflows. Okay, this iflows will be in this one, and these are about the messages. Now I have 2 messages, and if I go to here, I can see all. Now if you want to get last 24 hours, then click on past 24 hours. Okay, then you can see 24 hours data. Now past week, then if you want to give the customize, then you can do that. Okay, this is possible here. Now this is the failed one, and if you have any retry messages, then you can see it here. Now let's assume you want to see the escalated messages. Okay, there is a status called escalate. Now here, if you see here, I can see the messages either failed or retry or completed. Now again, I want to see the escalation errors. Then what you can do is you can just simply click on this plus option. The status you mentioned to escalate it, and you can make it as from when you want to take that. Just you can mention past 24 hours, then click on OK. Now if you see here, there are 0 escalated messages. Okay, and from here you can do the customization. Okay, from this monitoring. Now if you want to add something, then you can do that. Okay, now okay, and one more thing also, these are the integration flows which are all deployed in my tenant. Now if you want to check only particular one, then you just simply click on this option, then you change the status. Okay, if there is any messages failed or something, that you can do. Now I have the test one. For this, there are no messages. Integration flow. For the escalated, no. Now I'll make it as completed. Now if you see here, for this particular artifacts, we have this many completed. Now if you want to take only failed one, then you just simply click on failed. Okay, here you can see all the message status and everything. Okay, you have to make sure that understand how this monitoring works. Okay, because when we start with the SAP CPI, this is the very important thing. Okay, you do your development, that is fine, but if there is any error, how to debug and how to find the error, that is the important concept here. Okay, now is there any questions from this monitor?
Hi, Abhinav.
Yeah, hi.
What is the main difference between debug and trace, and in which scenarios we will be using debug?
Yeah, see, now if you want to check the status, either it's the status is completed or what is the status, then you go for without any payload, then you go for debug. If you want to see the message payload for each and every step, then you go for the trace. But in production, it's not preferable to go for trace. Okay, whenever you, let's say, I'll show you that. I'm changing this to debug now, and I'll deploy this. Now, when I click on log content, I'm not able to see the payload, right? Because I'm only see the technical information, what are the data I'm using. I'm using this content modifier, and I use the set body function. Only I can see this one. But when I use this trace, I can see the step-by-step process, how the data is modifying and how the data is sent from one step to another step. Now, when I change this to trace, it's on dependence, like on which case you want to go for, it's on dependence. Now you are a developer, you want to debug the data based on the trace, then you change this and you just simply save and deploy this. But make sure that whenever you change the log level, either to trace or debug, but make sure you have to deploy that. Then only it will be active. Now I click on send.
So basically, if we want to see the data at each step or the content and payload, then we will be using trace.
Yes, correct. If
And
I click on this trace, then you can see the message content here, right? Now I'll click on Groovy script. Now I click on message content. I can go to payload. I can see this.
so in production, it is recommended to use debug to find where
Debug.
exactly it has failed.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Or any other questions? Anyone?
I have one more question.
Yeah.
During your setting up that instance key for ESB messaging.send role.
Yeah.
So, like, I didn't get this part. Like, when we are downloading this instance key and then we are passing the same thing in Postman. So, like, already we are giving the authorization. So, why again this?
Yeah, there are two ways. That's why I mentioned there are two ways. Either you can use the username and password. Now you don't want to display your username and password for everyone. Then you can share this client ID and client secret. Okay. See, suppose let's assume you are the user and you have already an account in identity provider. Now it's fine. Now I am the new consultant which joined the project recently. Now to create everything, it takes time, right? To create the user in the account and to assign that in the identity provider, it takes time. Now what I can simply do is I can ask for the client ID and the client secret. Then instead of my username and password, I can just use the client ID and client secret. Then I can do the testing, right?
Okay, so when we have multiple users, it's good to use this way, right? The client ID and secret.
No, not the specific reason is, see, basically you are the already existing person in the identity provider. Then that's preferable. You can use your username and password. Now there is a person who is not in the identity provider. Only for 1 or 2 times you want to do the testing. Okay, or suppose you want to give your CPI access for the third-party vendors and they want to do the testing. What you can do is, instead of creating an account and again deleting the same account for the same person, for the temporary use, you can give this, right? Instead of creating all the stuff and all the roles and everything.
And this instance key will be same for various iFlows?
Yeah, for all the iFlows, it's the same. You can use the same for all other iFlows. This will be the same for every iFlow.
Okay.
Yeah, it will be not the different. Suppose if you are using the iFlow 1 and once you click on generate, you will get one key. Now suppose if you are generating iFlow 2, Now you click on this generate key, you will get the same. It will not be changed, right? Because this is from the cockpit point of view.
Okay.
Okay, but this is the case. Just I explained you because there is a possibility that you can do the test, but this is not preferable to you go and you use this. Okay, but this admin they never share this client ID and client secret with consultants developers. Okay, just this is the trial account. That's why I'm showing all the possible cases where what are the loopholes and what we can do. For this, how to generate the key you got, right? How to generate and
Yeah, that part is clear. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, any other questions?
Abhinav, Deepika here.
Yeah.
So all the steps that you had shown, right, in the cockpit also, all as well as in the integration scope. So this we will be doing it again, right, step by step, because a lot of things that you have shown, and we like some of the things I could catch up, but some of the things like maybe need to understand the each term wise, right? So
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. See, but this is the standard steps. First, what you have to do is first you have to do the registration process. Now, if you want to create your trial account, right? You are talking about the creation of the account.
Yeah, all the steps like in the B2B cockpit also,
Yes.
and also then the integration. So
yeah, okay. The first thing you have to register the SAP. Okay. Now, once you register for the SAP, you will get one user. Okay. It will be an S user or P user. Okay. Once you get your S user or P user, it will be converted to your mail ID. Let's assume you are login with some user ID, mention test@gmail.com. Okay. Now you have to provide your mobile number. You will get the OTP and you do the registration process. That is the step 1. Okay.
Okay, Abhinav, first here only, I have my S user ID with me. Okay, but that is provided by client. So that in that S user ID also, can I make this mobile company?
Yes, yeah, definitely. You can just log into BTP, this BTP screen. Okay. Once you log into, it will ask you the username and password, right? Now, what you just do is you just enter your S user name. Okay. And you just mention the forgot password. Okay. Then you will get to which mail the S user is linked. Either it is your official mail or your Gmail or what. You will get some link, activation link, reset password. Then you use your S user ID. That is a better recommendation to use S user, because whenever you use the S user, it will be a long term with the SAP. Okay. But whenever you use the Gmail, for every 30 days, you have to do the extension. Now, let's assume you have all the data in the trial account. Now, after 60 days, the trial account will be expired. Then what you have to do, again, you have to download all the packages and you have to import. But you have your S user, which is provided by your company, then better you use that S user ID to create. Okay, it is no harm by using that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, first you have to do the registration process. Then you go to the BTP. There you have to provide your username and password. Okay. Then you have to provide
the same password of S user only will work, right, for BTP?
Yes. Yeah. No, see, suppose now you are using the client provided some user ID and password.
Right.
Okay. Now, if you use the same user ID password, it will not work. You have to generate this different user for this trial account. Okay. Then what is the point? See, suppose client has their own network, right? Their own cockpit. Now client provide you the S user and password. That is user and password for his landscape. Okay, his system, his cockpit system. Now, if you're trying to access, it will not allow you to open the client network, right? Because it's very secure. That's why whenever you want to create a trial account, then what is the preferable is you generate your own password, then you can use that same. Okay, but it will not reflect for the both. That is the different one. The client one is different. Then the trial account is different.
Oh, okay, got it. So password will be different, but yes, user ID will be the same.
Yes, user ID will be same.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Can you share that URL, Abhinav, for registration and all?
Yeah. Okay. I'll put this on chart. If someone can share your screen and show me, because others can also able to, like if someone want to create the trial account, like if you have your dummy Gmail or something, then I'll show you how to follow the step by step. Or else you can follow the same, then also you can create the trial account. But first you have to do the registration. For that, as I told you, go to this global option, then go to India. Then here, once you click on this, here you have to provide your, if you have the business ID. Suppose if I have already account, then it will automatically recognize that. Okay. Now here you have to provide your Gmail ID or business ID and the first name, last name, and the company. And here you have to provide your mobile number and the department. You can give anything. Okay, if you are a developer or anything, and consultant. Okay, and your username. Sorry, this password. You can give the password and click on submit. Okay, then you will get one mail to your Gmail account. Okay, one activation. If you see here, you will get active your account for SAP.com. Then you just click to activate your account. Okay, once you click on activate. Okay, now you see here, it's my P user. Okay, it will automatically generate the P user. Okay, now you can give your password, whatever the password you provide, then you can simply click on login. Okay, and if you don't know the password, then you can click on the forgot password. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other doubts here? I'll take pass here. But everyone make sure that understand how the CPI work. Okay, and what is the monitoring techniques we have, and why we need to go for the CPI, and what is the BTP. These are the important in the project point of view or anything. Suppose in the future, the client will tell you the big requirement and you don't understand that, that will be a different case. If you know the part by part, then you can. And one more thing is in CPI, for every problem, there will be a different solutions. Okay, in CPI, for one problem, you can give the multiple kinds of solution. Okay, if A equal to B not possible, then B equal to C, you can achieve that. Okay, that is possible in SAP CPI. There are different kinds of solution you can create. When you can create, if you know complete structure and all the functions, we have the functions here, right? If you go here, and we all work only within these functions. Okay, if you click on this, you can see these functions. Okay, we'll start all these functions, but this will be an where you have to use these functions and make it your iFlow working.
Okay, so Abhinav, can you just log out all these and can you just come in here? Just want to understand the path once again.
Yeah. Okay. Close all these. Okay. Now I'll already store my URL here. Okay. You can also store that URL, and you can just simply click on this. You can go from here to here. Okay, but one more thing, remember, suppose you are using the BTP account for other user and you want to log into the CPI, it will not work. Okay, whoever to which account you log into the BTP, this cockpit, the same user can able to access this CPI. Okay, now I have some other account. This is my another account. When I try to click on this, okay, it will ask me the username and password. Okay, now if I give the username and password also, it will not take. It will show you some error. Okay, because this cockpit is login with some other user and some other user want to log in to the SAP CPI. It will not allow. Got it? Hello.
Yes, yes, Abhinav.
Yeah. Okay. It's basically everything is depends on this cockpit. Okay, you have to make sure that this cockpit with user you created, the same user you can use the CPI or whatever other open connectors or cloud connectors or something.
So for the open connectors and cloud, all they have different links, right? So
Yeah,
because
everything is
B2P
different.
okay, because B2P I have logged in and it's creating an account. But for the others, like how do we log in?
Yeah, only for you are now creating for which one? Open connectors or you are logging to subscribe for integration suite?
No, for now I've just created for B2P. What else do we need? No, apart from like I think we'll need the cloud integration and as
Yeah,
part of this
integration
test.
suite. Yeah, integration suite, you have to take the subscription. All these CPI and open connectors and integration advisor will come under integration suite only. Okay, once you take the subscription and if you add the all capabilities, then you can access the all CPI and API management and everything. But first of all, you have to take the subscription for integration suite.
So that we need to take in BTP account only, right? BTP.
Yes,
cockpit.
from BTP only. Yeah.
And that
is
you
the
had
root.
shown need to subscribe from there.
Yes, correct.
Things, right? Okay.
Yes, correct. You can just log into here. And you can just go to trial account and you can go to your the trial one and go to service marketplace and search for integration suite. Okay, now click on create, then it will give you the go to application. Once it once you subscribe for the integration suite, then you can see the same in instance and subscriptions. Okay, once you click on that, you just click on this integration suite where you can add all the capabilities. Okay, now it's asking for, let me log into. Okay, now if you see here, I added all the capabilities. Now here we have the CPI and API management and open connectors. Now if you want to access anyone, you just simply click on this CPI. Now, once you click on this, it will automatically redirect. Now, if you want to take the URL, okay, then you can click on this and you can take this URL. Okay, now one more thing also. Yeah, from here, if you want to take all the URLs in the same place, then you can do this. Okay, now suppose if you want to deactivate this cloud platform integration, then you can deactivate. Now, if you want to deactivate this, then you can deactivate. Okay, but this is the important screen where CPI will consultants are most concentrated. Okay.
Okay. And for each user, they will provide one tenant, right?
Yes, correct. Okay. If you see, suppose if I go to API management, I can see 10684 and open connectors. This is the standard URL 10684 and cloud integration 10684. This is the standard one. This sub account, under the same sub account, you are creating these multiple
subscriptions.
Yes. Okay, anyone completed this subscription, or anyone can able to access this cloud platform integration? And one more thing is, if you do the subscription and if you click on this link, it will not allow you to access. Okay, there is a mandatory thing you have to do. You have to assign the roles. Okay, you have to make sure that you have to assign all the roles here. Okay, don't forget this step. Go to identity provider and click on assignment. Then show assignment, and whatever the roles you see, all the roles you can assign. Okay, now suppose if I am deleting few roles, I'll delete CPI roles here. Okay. Yeah. And I'll refresh this. Yeah. API. Okay, now whatever the roles I deleted, can see this here. But if you want to know the which role is working for the which purpose, we have an SAP open tool website where we can find all the roles and how it will work. So, we have the whole collection of URLs. I'll provide that tomorrow. Okay. Where we have the list of URLs. Yeah. And here one more thing also you have to remember. Now we are using the Cloud Foundries. Okay. Before we have the new one, Neo, NEO. It's a completely the infrastructure and the design and everything is different. Now, if I go here, if I go to trial, yeah, if I click on this option, I can see it's a enabled Cloud Foundry, right? Now I'll just close this and I'll create the Cloud Foundry environment.
What is Cloud Foundry?
Yeah, this is the latest one, which is the cockpit is designed in Cloud Foundry. It's a landscape. Now, if I open the Neo, it's a old environment where the design and everything is different. Now, the latest one is Cloud Foundry environment that we call CF. Only there is a no much difference, but the Cloud Foundry, the design and everything will be different, and Neo, the design and everything is different. But whenever you come with the across the board Cloud Foundry, then there is it supports HTML5. Okay, but Neo it will not support for the HTML5. Okay, that is the main difference. There are so many. Okay, whenever you use this Cloud Foundry, then you can create your own space and everything. But if it is the Neo, then you will not able to create any spaces or not. Spaces in the sense it's a temporary database where you can store the content and everything. Okay, we can see this for tomorrow. What is the use of this space and how we can, and if you want to disable the Cloud Foundry, you can disable this. And
so the session which we just saw, today's session was in Neo, right? Not in Cloud Foundry.
No, everything is on Cloud Foundry. Now we are not using any Neo environment. Okay, it's the old one. Now everything is a Cloud Foundry environment.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now from tomorrow, we'll start the main topics on SAP CPI, where how to create, how to use these functions, each and every function, and how to achieve our business. Okay. Then how to do the configurations. Okay. There are so much, but it's a very interesting if you are know this all the functions properly. Okay. If you have any other doubts, you can raise now, else we'll close this. Oh. Yeah, Sachin, it's completed. Do you have any questions?
No, Abhinav. The link which was mentioned earlier, that is a SharePoint link, I guess, or the Google Drive link. So just ask Hema to share that one post our session.
Okay. You are talking about LM. Like which Hema mentioned, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Earlier, during the starting of the session, she mentioned some LMs.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. All the recordings and PPTs will be available there.
Okay.
Okay. For tomorrow, you can create your trial account and you come up with me. And if you have any doubts while creating the tenant, you can let me know and we'll discuss. And from tomorrow, we'll start that. And better part is if you do the hands-on, it will be, you can remember it's long run. Okay. If you are not doing the hands-on, it will be a difficult.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you, Abhin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Abhinav.
Thanks.
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also feel free to ask your questions in the comment section below, and we will reply to them at the earliest.